Hi everybody, this is Justina with JustynaTHandMade. In today's video, I'm gonna show you how to adopt the JT Basic Wristlet pattern from a pattern that is written for a vinyl fabric or leather, something that can be sewn and have an exposed raw edge, to a version made with woven fabric that we don't have any exposed edges, so you can create the wristlet without worrying that your raw edges will be exposed. This version is created to show you how to do it with a woven fabric, but if you prefer your wristlet not to have exposed edges, you can follow this tutorial, and it will apply equally well to a woven fabric and to a vinyl. Like I said, this is additional instructions to that JT Basic Wristlet pattern that I already created video for. I wanted to give you more options, so although you just have this pattern, you can create a different version and have more use for your investment in the pattern. In this version, we have is the same as the initial one, so it has the main packet, which can easily hold a cell phone or a smaller wallet, and you also have your card slot packets. You can have a credit card or ID with you and your cell phone, and that's basically all you need for a quick trip to a grocery store or have a fun night out with a wristlet that it's easy to carry and it's not bulky, so it's not gonna get in your way. This pattern, it's available in my Etsy store. I will post the link in the description box below, but note that you're gonna see this version when you open the link. In this video, in the next clip, I'm gonna explain to you how to adopt the initial pattern to be able to create a woven version. But if you decide to purchase this pattern, if you don't already have it, you're gonna be able to create both versions using this one pattern file. If you are new to the channel, welcome to the video for sewing tutorials for JustynaTHandMade patterns. If you are a returning viewer, thank you so much for taking the time to view another of my videos. If you are not yet a subscriber, please make sure to subscribe, to hit the notification bell and give the video a like, informing the YouTube algorithm that you want my videos to be popular. I would really appreciate that. That would really help to grow my channel. If you have any questions or if you want to leave me a note, please leave a comment in the comment section of this video. And if you need immediate help with the pattern, reach out to me on Facebook or directly on Etsy, and I get back to you as soon as I can. And now, if you want to see how this woven fabric version of the JT Basic Wristlet comes together, please keep watching. To start our project, I'm gonna walk you through how to adopt the pattern to be sewn with the woven fabric. So first of all, you're gonna take your pattern piece and you're gonna use it to cut interfacing. I'm using Sew Fuse Plus. You can use Decovil Light if that's something you have, or anything that is structured enough for your liking to give enough structure to your wristlet. So I cut my interfacing, then I applied it to a piece of fabric that was large enough to give me a space for some seam allowances, and then I cut my fabric out, adding about 3/8 of an inch seam allowances all around my interfacing. I left the zipper opening uncut in the fabric itself, because obviously we cannot have raw edges in a woven fabric. So this is how you're gonna use the pattern piece to create your main outer panel. when it comes to the lining, you're gonna combine the measurement of the small lining piece. So you would have a small lining piece somewhat this size in the pattern, and then a large lining piece as a second lining panel based on the cut list. What you're gonna do, you're gonna combine those two measurements to have one large lining piece and add 1 inch to the longer edge of your lining. Then you're gonna also add 1/2 inch to the width. We want to accommodate for the seam allowances that we are adding to our woven fabric, and add 1/2 inch to the width of your fabric. And then after your lining is cut, first of all, you're gonna take your outer panel, you're gonna fold it in half, place it on your table, and you're gonna align the bottom edge with the short edge of your lining. So this way you're gonna create a crease. You can mark it with pins, you can mark it with erasable pen, or you can do what I did, which I ironed my piece and I created the crease. So this is my lining. That's gonna be the plain lining of the front side of my wristlet. Then after that's done, I'm left with this long piece of my lining, and here I'm gonna create my card slots. So I want to measure 4 1/4 inch from this fold. So this is folded away underneath, and here I'm measuring 4 1/4 inches from the top, and I'm gonna fold my fabric and press it. Then I'm gonna bring the other end of my fabric and making sure it aligns with the initially folded lining, so it's the same size. I'm gonna press to create my pocket. So this way you have 2 lining panels that are equal in size, and that will be the same size as your outer panel. So this is how you prep your outer panel with your interfacing and your lining panels. In this version of the wristlet, I'm gonna add the ring tab. So I just cut a piece of fabric that is 2 inches in width and 4 inches long, and I added a piece of interfacing because this is a pretty thin fabric to give it a little more strength, and I just fold it over again and pressed it, and I'm gonna top stitch to finish it up. So that's my fabric cuts. I have my zipper, I have my clasp for my wristlet strap, I have my 1/2 inch D-ring, I also have my back tack, and I have some rivets to put the strap together and to attach my back tack. So now that we have everything ready, we're gonna start prepping our lining panel first. When you have all your creases created, you're gonna now top stitch your card slot pocket. So you're gonna take your lining to the machine, making sure that you're sewing only the top of the pocket. you're gonna top stitch your pocket with the 1/8 of an inch seam allowance and 3.5 stitch length, and at the same time you can complete your D-ring strap, and you're gonna just top stitch along the long edges with the 1/8 of an inch seam allowance and 3.5 stitch length. Now that I have the top of my pocket top stitched and I have my D-ring top stitch as well, I'm gonna put that aside, and now I'm gonna be working on finishing up my card slot pockets. So I'm folding the fabric back up to the position of the pockets, and now you can secure that with clips. And now I'm gonna fold the panel in half and create a crease in the middle. And when I have my crease created, I'm gonna take it back to the machine and I'm gonna split the pocket in two. So I'm gonna top stitch from the bottom of the pocket up, come back 1 stitch length on the top. I'm gonna go back and forth a couple times to give it a little more strength, and then come back down in the space of the 1 stitch length to create a double stitch line to divide my pockets. And also I'm gonna baste the sides of my pockets so they stay nice and secure. So take your project back to the machine, split the pockets in half and baste your sides. Now that I have my pocket split in two and I backstitch on the beginning and on the end of my seam, just remember to do that as well. So now we want to create a pocket that will be a perfect size for our cards. So I have just a generic membership card to do that, and I'm gonna slip my card in, and I'm gonna use a heat erasable pen and make sure that I'm leaving about 1/8 of an inch space between the end of my card and the line I'm gonna draw, because I want to make sure that my pocket is snug, but I also want to have a little space to place my card in and out. When I have my card slots marked, I'm gonna take my project back to the machine and I'm gonna repeat what I did here. I just want to make sure I'm off to the side from my credit card measurements, because I don't want to make the pocket too tight. So I'm gonna be sewing on the line, coming back 1 stitch, making couple back and forth stitches on the top and coming back down. And on this side I'm gonna do the same. First I'm gonna follow my drew line, then I'm gonna make a 1 stitch length space, coming back a couple times and coming back down, making sure I'm back stitching on the beginning and on the end of my seam. Now that I have my divider sewn and I can also test my pockets, they seems to be fine. Now I'm gonna use my iron to remove my marks. So now we have our lining prepped. Now we can work on our outer panel, and here, after you have your interfacing attached, the only thing is to do to attach your back tag, and I'm mentioning it right now because if you are sewing your tag on, definitely do it at this point. I'm going to be attaching mine with rivets, but I still prefer to do it right now. Now I just have to decide which side I like as my front. I think I like this side better. So that's going to be the top. I want to make sure that I'm accounting for my seam allowances, choosing the placement of my back tag. Now that I have my back tag attached, it's time to work on our zipper opening. To do that, we're also gonna use our mid mark. We want to make sure that the panels are right sides together, and you also want to pay attention to where you like your card slots. I like them on the back of my wristlet, so I'm gonna flip my lining over, and now I'm gonna place both right sides together, making sure that my mid crease is in the middle of my zipper opening. Secure that with clips. Make sure that from the other side everything looks nice and straight. And now that we have our project prepped like this, we're gonna take it to the machine and we're gonna sew following the edges of our interfacing in the zipper opening. So you wanna sew from the interfacing side up so you can clearly see your seam line, and you're gonna be sewing just off those cut interfacing lines. You're going to be sewing on the line of the interfacing with the 3.5 stitch length, and make sure you overlap the seam so it's nice and secure where the seam starts and ends. Now that we have the two panels connected, we're gonna cut the inside of our zipper opening so we can flip our lining inside. So what I like to do, I like to cut like a little pilot hole, and then I'm splitting my project and cutting the layers. Try to cut as close as you can to the corner without snipping the thread. And now we're gonna insert our lining through the cut opening. Pull on the lining so we get a nice crisp fold. Use your iron to press the folds in place. Take your time with the ironing process so you have a nice crisp opening. And when you have the opening ironed, we're gonna now place our zipper in the opening. To help with that, we're gonna use some double-sided tape. Here you have to remember which way you want the zipper to open. I wanted for my zipper to be closed when the pull is on the left, so I just want to make sure that my zipper is positioned correctly. Now I'm gonna place my zipper and make sure I am centering it in the middle of my opening. And when I'm happy with the position of my zipper, I'm gonna take the project back to the machine and I'm gonna top stitch along my zipper opening with the 1/8 of an inch seam allowance and 3.5 stitch length. I'm gonna come back on the top a couple times just to make sure it has a little more strength. So I'm just gonna probably double my seam on the ends, and then just sew all around to attach my zipper, making sure that my lining stays nice and open underneath my project. Now that my zipper is sewn in, I can see that this end is a little longer, so I'm just gonna trim it before it gets in the way of my lining seam. Now we want to make sure that we don't forget our D-ring top. So I'm gonna take my D-ring top, choose the side I like better. I think actually I like this side better. It's way too long, or if you like it long, that's fine, but I like it shorter. I just like to give myself some space when I'm working on the D-ring tops. And now I want to baste stitch the D-ring top. So I want to make sure that I'm leaving enough space for my seam allowance to do not sew over my top. So I'm making the top about 1/2 inch or 3/4 of an inch long. I'm gonna clip it in place, make sure my lining is not in the way, and now I'm gonna take it to the machine and I'm gonna baste stitch my D-ring top into place. I'm placing it just underneath the zipper. So when I'm gonna be sewing my when I put the project together, the D-ring top, it's gonna be in this position. If you like your D-ring top anywhere else, feel free. This is something I'm suggesting. I would like my project or my wristlet to have the D-ring top in this place. So now that I have it positioned, I'm gonna take it to the machine and I'm gonna baste the D-ring top in place, and I'm gonna be basting it only to my outer panel. My D-ring top is now based in place. I'm just gonna trim it. And now I'm also gonna create the curves in my lining. So having the project right side up or outside up, I'm gonna cut the lining to mimic the curves on my outer panel. this doesn't need to be super precise. We just want to make sure that we're not gonna have those corners when we sew our project. And now we're gonna take our outers. I have my lining pieces separated, and I'm wanna make sure that I'm folding my pieces in a position that the zipper is perfectly placed on the top. So make sure your zipper is right in the middle of your fold and secure that with a clip. Do the same on the other side. So we want to make sure that the midpoint of the zipper is where our outer fabric folds. And now you're gonna clip the outers all around. Make sure your zipper is cracked open. When you have your project prep like this, you're gonna take it to the machine, and using a zipper foot, you're gonna sew all around the project with the 3/8 of an inch seam allowance and 3.5 stitch length. Again, making sure you are back stitching on the beginning and on the end of the seam. I would pay attention, making sure I'm not going over the interfacing, so I'm gonna have a nicer look on the outside with my curved corners. So take your project to the machine, and using a zipper foot, sew around the outside edges with the 3/8 of an inch seam allowance and 3.5 stitch length. When we have the project sewn all around, and I went back and I did additional seam where my D-ring is to make sure it just have enough strength. Now I'm gonna take my pinking shears and I'm gonna trim the seam allowance where my rounded corners are. And now we're gonna sew our lining together. So again, we want to make sure it folds where the zipper midpoint is. And here we want to mark an opening in the bottom of our lining for our turning hole. And when we have our project prep like this, you're gonna take it back to the machine and you're gonna sew, keeping the outer out of the way. Again, I would use a zipper foot, and I would start from my opening, going down to my folded point. Do the same on this side. You can flip your project while you're sewing the other side, and you're gonna be sewing with a tiny bit bigger seam allowance. So I would do about 1/2 inch and then bring it back up to 3/8 of an inch. Do the same on this side. So we want to start with 1/2 inch seam allowance and then slowly bring it down to 3/8 of an inch at the top point. Don't forget to backstitch well in those 2 points, so on the beginning of your seams, and sew with 3.5 stitch length. Now that we have our lining sewn, we're gonna trim the seam allowances. And now we can turn our project right side out. Give your project a once over to make sure everything is looking nice, and if everything is looking good to you, pull the lining out. Fold the unsewn edges inside. And take it back to the machine and top stitch along the opening with the 1/8 or 1/16 of an inch seam allowance and 3.5 stitch length, making sure you're back stitching on the beginning and on the end of your seam to close the opening in your lining. My lining is now sewn close, so I'm gonna place it back in my wristlet. Zip my zipper up, and now it's a good time to give your project a nice press. And now the last thing to do is to create our wristlet strap. I'm gonna take my webbing tape. I already melted my ends. I'm gonna take my clasp, slip it on, and now I wanna place the other end of my strap inside, just above the clasp. Fold this end by 1/2 inch and create a loop. This way I have no cut edges of the webbing showing. And now I'm gonna attach the strap with the rivet. Because I'm using pretty large rivets, I'm just gonna use one. If you have a smaller one, you can attach it with 2 rivets on each side. Now my project is ready to use. My woven fabric version of the wristlet is now ready to use. It can hold a cell phone and has space for credit cards. You can insert multiple cards in a packet. It just depends how snug you make them, but you can at least have 4 cards in your wristlet. and you can make it with any kind of fabric you have in your stash. You can make it from any woven fabric following this instruction, or if you have vinyl and you like the raw scalloped edge, you can follow the initial video instruction to create this version of the wristlet with vinyl. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial and that you're gonna give the project a go. If you already have the pattern for this version, you don't need to purchase or download additional patterns, or you can use the existing pattern. Just follow my instruction how to adapt it to the woven version of the project. If you have any questions or need a little more guidance with the project, please feel free to reach out to me. If you are a member of my Facebook group, you can reach me there. You can reach me directly on Etsy, or you can leave a comment on YouTube. If you did enjoy this video and you are not yet a subscriber, don't forget to subscribe and to hit the notification bell, and like the video to let me know that you would like me to create more sewing tutorial videos. Till the next time.